Now we're going to go over how to replace the hot end of the Finder 3. If you have a clog, it's easiest to have a spare hot end on hand that you can just use to replace your clogged hot end, and then later, as you have time, you can fix the clog and keep that repaired hot end as your spare that you can then rotate through as you need to. So first we need to remove the protective cover of the extruder assembly, and to do that we're going to use one of the wrenches that came with the printer. We'll use the middle one, and there are only 2 screws at the top back corners here that are holding this on. So I'm going to remove these screws. Okay, just set them aside, make sure you don't lose them. Both screws have been removed. Now if you look at the bottom rear of the extruder assembly, you'll see 2 more screws. You don't have to remove those because the bottom of the protective cap is actually held on by these snap clips here. What I'm going to do is just pull first I'll remove the guide tube, and now I'll pull the cap forward. I'm tilting it forward. I've got the clip on one side off. Yeah. It's a little tricky to get off. The clip on the right side was not wanting to release. So just gently work at it until you get it off. And here is our extruder assembly. You can see the motor that runs the gears that pull the filament down into the hot end, and that's what we're going to be replacing. The hot end consists of this heat sink. This is the heater block covered with a silicone sock, and then underneath that is the brass nozzle. So we're going to need to loosen this screw where my finger is pointing. That grub screw is holding the heater, the hot end in place. And we are also going to need to undo a couple wires here. These, the black wire and these 2 red wires connect to the hot end, and one controls the thermometer that measures the temperature, and the other the heating cartridge, which heats up the hot end. Right, so the cartridge heats up the hot end, and the thermometer keeps track of how hot it is, so it tells the heating cartridge to turn on or off so that it's maintaining a constant temperature. So the hot end assembly looks like this, and you can see that we've got those 2 wires for the heating cartridge, and we have the black wire for the thermometer or thermistor. Look at the heat sink, and that's what dissipates the heat so that it doesn't rise up and melt the filament in the extruder assembly, because then you would end up with a clog up there. And we have the silicone sock covering the heater block, which is just an aluminum block. That's the one piece of the printer that gets hot. And as the filament is fed down through the hot end, it melts in the heating block area and comes out of the nozzle. In our toolkit, we have a small flathead screwdriver, and we're going to use this to loosen the screws that are holding these 2 red wires in place. And then we just pull these out, and the black wire is held by clips, so all we need to do is pull that clip up and out. Okay, the only thing left holding the hot end in place is the one grub screw in there. And to loosen that screw, we're going to use the next size down Allen wrench from our kit. Once you loosen the screw enough, the hot end will just slide out. So you don't want to take out the grub screw completely. Just loosen it enough so that you can remove the old hot end. Now we just repeat the process in reverse. Slide the new hot end into position. Use the Allen key to tighten the grub screw. Okay. Reattach the black wire and reattach the two red wires. Okay. Now all that remains is to put the protective cover back on. Make sure the wires are out of the way and they don't get pinched anywhere. I'm going to clip it in the bottom first and then make sure the back is flush. And replace the two screws that we took out. So now, of course, we need to re-level our bed because the distance between the nozzle and the build plate might be slightly different than it was before. So we don't want to take a chance of that being incorrect. So we'll go through the leveling process and we'll be good to go with our new replacement hot end.